Throughout history, the battlefield has been a place of immense courage, sacrifice, and unfortunately, unimaginable suffering. While every loss of life in conflict is a tragedy, some stories stand out for their particularly grim and unfortunate circumstances. Today, we're going to explore 10 historical accounts of some of the most challenging and difficult ends faced by soldiers. This isn't about glorifying gore, but about understanding the extreme realities of warfare and honoring the resilience of the human spirit even in the face of the direst situations. Let's begin with the story of Jayarji Dosa. In 1514, Dosa led a peasants' crusade in Hungary. After their defeat, his punishment was designed to be a terrifying spectacle. He was forced to sit on a heated iron throne, a burning iron crown placed on his head, and a hot scepter in his hand, mocking his ambition to be king. It was a symbolic and agonizing end, meant to serve as a brutal warning against any future uprisings. The psychological torment of such a staged event is as horrifying as the physical pain. Next, we turn to the ancient world and the fate of Marcus Atilius Regulus, a Roman consul during the First Punic War. Captured by the Carthaginians, legend says he was sent back to Rome to negotiate a peace treaty or a prisoner exchange, swearing an oath to return if he failed. He urged the Roman Senate to refuse the terms, knowing it meant his own doom. True to his word, he returned to Carthage. His captors, enraged, are said to have subjected him to a dreadful fate. The story goes they cut off his eyelids and forced him to stare at the sun, before placing him in a barrel filled with spikes. While some historians debate the exact details, his story became a Roman symbol of honor and enduring unimaginable hardship for one's country. Number 8 on our list is a more modern, yet equally harrowing tale. The fate of the crew of the submarine H.L. Hunley during the American Civil War. In 1864, the Hunley became the first submarine to sink an enemy warship. But its success came at a great cost. The submarine and its 8-man crew vanished after the attack. For over a century, its fate was a mystery. When it was finally discovered and raised in the year 2000, analysis suggested the crew met an instant, but silent and invisible end. The powerful explosion from their own torpedo, though yards away, likely created a devastating pressure wave that traveled through the water and the sub's hull. The crew would have been subjected to a massive blast wave, causing immediate and fatal trauma without a single drop of water entering the vessel. A silent, instantaneous death trapped in the dark depths. Let's move to medieval Japan and the story of Minamoto no Yoshinaka. A prominent samurai during the Genpei War, he was known for his ferocity. However, his own clan turned against him. Cornered during the Battle of Owazu in 1184, he fought valiantly but found himself trapped in a partially frozen rice paddy. His horse became stuck in the thick mud, making him a stationary target. As he struggled, an enemy arrow struck him in the face, ending the life of a powerful warrior not in a duel of swords, but immobilized and helpless. It's a stark reminder that in war, sometimes the environment itself can be the most formidable foe. For our 6th story, we look at the gruesome practice of scaphism, an ancient Persian method of execution. The victim would be placed inside 2 hollowed-out boats or tree trunks, one on top of the other, with their head, hands, and feet protruding. They were then force-fed milk and honey until they developed severe digestive distress. More honey and milk were poured over them to attract insects. The container would then be set adrift in a stagnant pond or left in the sun. The combination of the elements, dehydration, and the relentless activity of insects feasting on the decaying matter in the victim led to a prolonged and unimaginably distressing end. It's a method that truly highlights a terrifying level of human cruelty. Now, let's consider the ordeal of Major Michael Scott Spiker, a U.S. Navy pilot during the Gulf War. On the first night of the war in 1991, his F/A-18 Hornet was shot down over Iraq. Initially listed as killed in action, his status was later changed as evidence emerged suggesting he survived the crash. For years, his fate remained a mystery. It wasn't until 2009 that his remains were finally located and recovered. It's believed he survived the ejection but was likely captured and killed by his captors shortly after. The true horror here is the agonizing uncertainty his family endured for nearly 2 decades. A slow-burning torment of hope and despair, never knowing if their loved one was alive, a prisoner, or gone forever. Coming in at number 4 is the story of Dirk Willems, a 16th-century Anabaptist martyr. While not a soldier in the traditional sense, his death occurred in the context of intense religious conflict. Imprisoned for his faith, Willems escaped across a frozen pond. A prison guard pursued him, but being heavier, broke through the thin ice. Hearing his pursuers' cries for help, Willems turned back and rescued the man who was sent to capture him. Despite this act of compassion, the guard, urged on by a burgomaster, seized Willems. He was subsequently condemned and burned at the stake. To die because of an act of profound mercy toward your enemy is a tragic irony that is hard to comprehend. Our third most challenging story involves the brutal practice of keel hauling, a punishment once used in naval forces. A sailor would be tied to a rope that looped beneath the vessel. He was then thrown overboard from one side of the ship and dragged under the ship's keel, which was often covered in sharp barnacles, and then hauled up on the other side. If the sailor didn't drown, the severe lacerations from the barnacles across his entire body could lead to a slow and painful death from blood loss or infection. It was a punishment designed not just to harm, but to utterly terrify the rest of the crew into obedience. For our runner-up, we return to the ancient world with the story of Perillos of Athens. Around 550 BC, he designed a new execution device for Phalaris, the tyrant of Acragas. The device was a hollow bronze bull with a door on the side. The condemned would be locked inside and a fire set underneath, heating the metal until it glowed. As the person inside roasted, their screams would be acoustically altered by a system of tubes, emerging from the bull's mouth sounding like the bellowing of an infuriated bull. Phalaris, impressed with the invention, decided to test it. Its first victim? The inventor himself, Perillos. Though some accounts say he was removed before he died, only to be thrown from a cliff, the sheer poetic terror of being the first to suffer in your own horrific creation is chilling. And finally, the number one story on our list is that of Hisashi Uchi, a technician at a Japanese nuclear facility in 1999. While not a military death, the circumstances mirror the invisible, destructive power of modern weaponry. During an accident, Uchi was exposed to a dose of radiation believed to be the highest any human has ever sustained. What followed was an 83-day ordeal in a hospital. His body's cellular structure completely broke down. His skin melted away, his internal organs failed, and he suffered immense pain. Despite his pleas to be allowed to pass away, medical teams kept him alive, studying the devastating effects of the radiation on a human body. He was essentially kept alive while his body disintegrated around him. It represents a uniquely modern horror where technology designed to help us can also prolong suffering in ways previously unimaginable. From ancient cruelty to modern technological nightmares, these stories serve as somber reminders of the worst aspects of human conflict and misfortune. They underscore the incredible price paid by individuals throughout history. We remember them not for the horror of their deaths, but for the profound lessons their stories teach us about suffering, endurance, and the value of a peaceful life. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you found this exploration of history meaningful, please consider liking the video and subscribing for more content. Stay safe, and we'll see you in the next one.